All right, we're live.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. Hey guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. This is a place where we question everything and have interesting conversations. And so today on the Cat Show, we are going to be talking about sensitivity around racial, sexual, or religious jousting in the workplace. This was covered by John Mikota and Glenn Lowry in one of their recent episodes. We're also going to be talking about the debate between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock for the Georgia Senate race and the parody of womanhood. And lastly, Stacey Abrams' solution to high gas prices or high food prices and the economy in general. And she is proposing abortion as a solution for those things. So these are many more on the Cat Show today. But before we begin, if you like the conversations we have on this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. You can also support the stream with super chats and super stickers. And if you so wish, you can become a channel patron. Also, in addition, if you haven't gotten my crime fiction novel, please get my crime fiction novel on Amazon. It's a novel that details a debate on race and colonialism, and it's an interesting read. You would not be disappointed. So all links are in the description and also in the comments. And as always, your subscriptions, views, comments, and engagement are just as valuable and appreciated. So let's get right into the conversation. Stanley, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the topics we're talking about today?
How do I feel about what?
So how do you feel about the topics we're talking about today?
Yeah, I feel good about them, I guess.
Oh,
As good
fantastic.
as good as I can.
Okay, good. So today I would just like to play some clips so that will give us some guide on what we'll be commenting on. So the first one we're going to be talking on, we'll talk about sensitivity around racial or sexual or religious jousting in the workplace. Is it okay for people to make friendly jokes about certain things in the workplace, in with your friends? It might not even be in the workplace, just in general. So I'm going to play this first video by John Mikota and Glenn Lowry. So it's a 2 minutes video, and then we'll just take it from there.
We're on dangerous ground here, but I think it could be fertile. I mean, I'm thinking in my mind now, what would it mean to genuinely be a member of the team? Okay, that is, it's an inter-ethnic working group. We're late at night. We've had a couple of drinks. We're all under pressure and stress because it's a hard project that we're working on and the stakes are high. And people are making jokes. They're making jokes about sexuality. They're making jokes about religion. You know, the Jewish guy on the team, it's the butt of a friendly jest. You know, it's nothing, nothing, the Irish guy, people are drinking and, there's a little joke that's made about the thing. Is being willing to take the risk of venturing into that territory in jest a sign of respect and true equality of membership? And is forbearing from the give and take, the back and forth, the kind of jousting of genuine interpersonal interaction, forbearing from it for fear of giving offense, treating with the kid glove, is that a kind of inequality, a kind of, I don't trust enough the nature of our relationship to be willing to be honest with you. I'm acting now with you. I'm not letting my hair down with you a little bit. And it seems like it's a hard one for me because, the sentiment of the time, the diversity, equity, inclusion sentiment of the time, the equity training, the diversity training that goes on inside of organizations is, I assume, going to push people away from that kind of thing. And it's going to be a form where the Black member of the team can, voice their injury, their sense of injury, and where the facilitator is not going to welcome the jousting that might give offense, but is going to try to train it out of the rest of the team. And
All right. So that's the first video, Stanley. That's the first clip. So what do you think about the points that Glenn
You're
Lowry
gonna
made?
love you're gonna love this, and
All right.
this is gonna send a non into conniptions. I think. Well, let me preface it by saying that literally, and I'm almost 60. I have been like told since I was a little boy back in like the late 70s, early 80s is kind of, when I started growing up. You don't talk about religion, race, and religion, race, and something else. I can't, politics, I think, at work. Okay, to keep a level of professionalism. So I I hesitate to call that view, a dinosaur, but I don't know that the workplace was ever like that. The only exception I ever had, and Templar knows this, I had a buddy of mine in the Navy, and we're still close. You know, uh, 25 years later. Um, yeah, we'd go pretty hot and heavy because we just thought it was funny. And I tell Templar the story about the time I went to my buddy's uh, his parents' house, where he grew up in D.C. And we got to, joshing around, and his mother looked at us like, well, basically, where were you two raised? so we quickly stopped doing that because she just didn't think it was funny. And I you know um, I don't know that I've ever done it since. So
But did you think it was funny when you were doing it?
yes, he and I thought it was funny. And sitting with a bunch of other 24-year-old junior officers, it was funny. It just wasn't funny to, the late 40s, early 50s mother. And, we didn't know our audience, and we should, it was basically immaturity. I would never do that now. One on one or with a bunch of guys, at the end of the workday, yeah, sure. But I don't know that I've ever been in another workplace where there was that level. We sleep in proximity to each other, like on a 300-foot long, 50 feet wide ship for 6 months at a time. So there's a certain level of intimacy that you get, being in close quarters to someone for 180 days. And then even when you get back, you're seeing them every day. I've never had a civilian experience that was that tight knit. Now, I've had close friends, but never to that level where politics, religion, or race was, kind of, flippantly bandied about. And I've worked in some places that, yeah, some pretty tense, moments, but nothing to that level. The Navy, the military is just kind of a different animal. When they describe it as a brotherhood, I'm not sure they're wrong when they do that. I've never had a civilian experience that was quite that tight knit. I'm not saying they're not out there. I'm just saying I haven't.
So it's quite interesting to note that you and your friend, you were having a good-natured joke. You were just teasing yourselves, and you both found it funny. There wasn't anything sinister about it. There was there was nothing bad about it. But someone
However,
else,
I should also add that we were the only two who ever did it. No one else ever participated in it because I don't know. I think we were just a little bit too. I don't know. It was just he and I, and no one else really got into it to the degree. But even before that, we'd known each other for a couple years. So, there was a high level of, familiarity. I mean, I used to hang out with him and his wife. I mean, we knew each other outside of the show.
Exactly. So in that sense, where you guys have built a bond, you've built a relationship, you're comfortable with each other, and
Right.
you're having that kind of joke and exchange, and someone else sees it and takes issue with it. Do you think that their worries is justified, given the dynamics of your relationship with this person? You know that this is just joking. This is this is because of the kind of relationship I have with this person, and this is how we express our friendship. Like if
Right.
I'm talking to my best friend right now, the kind of words we use with each other, you think that, oh, maybe these guys hate each other, but that's just how we communicate.
Oh no.
So,
Well, I mean, we were laughing the whole time. I mean, there was no, there wasn't even an indication of animosity. I mean, we crack each other up. So, I mean, it was pretty obvious that, it was a comedy routine. But I think what you're getting to is, would I do that now? No, because I don't think it would be taken as well. But I want to add that even back in the 90s, I don't know outside of the ship um, that it would have flown even in the 90s. I don't know if you could call it pre-woke, but way back then, I don't know that what we used to do would fly in a corporate, in a Fortune 500 corporate sort of atmosphere. I've just never had workmates who were that close outside of the military.
So, okay, now in this case, let's say we take it out of the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we take it maybe in any setting at all. Do you think that, I mean, from what you just described, it seemed like you were comfortable with it when you're having that conversation with him, but you wouldn't do it now because of the current sensibilities?
Well,
So
not in a workplace. Now, one on one or with a group of guys that I've known for a while, yeah, I'd do it. But I wouldn't do it in front of anybody's parents.
So not because it is objectively wrong, but because of the way people might take it, right?
Is it appropriate? I mean, you got to know your audience. You got to know where you are. Is jocularity, of any kind appropriate, in the pews on a Sunday morning? I used to have a senior chief who would go, "That's going to go over like a fart in church." So, if you're farting in church and that's not going to be taken well, you should excuse yourself and go outside, or not do it if you can.
But I just think that I think there is an oversensitivity on this issue. I believe that if people know themselves well enough. Like, let me give an example. I just resumed a new job this month, beginning of the month. So last week, I went into one of the offices with the guys I work with. We're just talking, having fun. And then one of the staff there made a joke. It's a stereotype about people it's actually a negative stereotype about people from my ethnic group. He made the joke and then he asked me, "Is that true?" I just laughed. I laughed over it and I said, "Oh, no, it's not true." And that's a joke you hear almost every time. Once you introduce yourself and they ask you where are you from and you tell them from this ethnic group, you're almost always going to get that. You're almost always going to get that joke. But I've never seen anyone get offended over it. People just like, nah, it's not true, or they just I don't know. But in my country, we just see it as a way of bonding. He was trying to relate with me, even though he was doing it in a way where people say this is negative stereotyping. Well, we all knew it wasn't true. We all knew it's something that's just out there. And this is someone that I just met within the past 2 weeks, but we've worked together for these past 2 weeks, and we are kind of developing a bond. And I didn't take offense at it, and other people were there too. And so I don't know, maybe it's the dynamics of the kind of atmosphere in the US and some other parts of the world. I just feel that there should be some level of if there is no ill intent behind certain jokes, I mean, take it and leave it.
Well, my feelings on it is it's almost like a case by case basis. If you and he were working for another company, that dynamic might be a bit different. It might depend on who your boss is. Is your boss kind of like a by the book boss, or is he or she kind of like a, hey, loosey goosey? So there are a lot of dynamics or a lot of what would you call them, inputs or stimuli, whatever you want to call them. I just don't know that you can make a blanket statement, it should be. Well, yeah, there are a lot of things that should be, but nothing. We don't live. I made a comment today. We don't live in a steampunk world or a clockwork world where everything's predictable and mechanical, and it just doesn't work that way. What works in one place may not work in another. I don't know if I would be as comfortable as Glenn about how things should be. Frankly, he sounds like grandpa.
But something else that Glenn mentioned, something else I picked from what he was saying was that if someone is that careful around you not to say something that may be perceived as offensive, isn't that some type of inequality? You can make such jokes with someone, with a white person. A white person can make such jokes with a white person, but you're tiptoeing around the black person. You are so careful. Isn't that showing that, oh, you're treating this person very differently just because they are black, because you do not want to offend them in any way? So I don't know where does the dynamism, where does the human element
I think
in these interactions come into play?
I think in a case like that, you're equating Emily Post or Miss Manners with Jim Crow. I don't think being polite is a form of oppression or vice versa. The expectation to be polite, I don't see that as oppression.
Okay, so are you familiar with this LA City Council?
Yeah, I've read a couple stories about it and seen a couple YouTube clips.
Good. So let me play one clip and let's go with it and see what.
There's this white guy with this little black kid who's misbehaved. The kid is bouncing off the effing walls on the floor, practically tipping it over. There's nothing you can do to control him. Parece changuito.
I am still trying to wrap my head around everything that was said and everything that is happening. My husband and I are both raw and angry and heartbroken and sick for our family and for Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. We have Charles Zhu, Nancy B on the way.
Trying to displace this kid since she's been in this city council.
Asking for forgiveness is a good first step, but, well, it's a second step, because first you must resign and then ask for forgiveness. We need to be a city that doesn't just issue a statement of indignation over something like this, but does the work to make sure that no little black boy, no young Latina, no kid anywhere hears this, and that no community feels disenfranchised and disempowered.
So, Stanley, what do you think about that?
I have a lot of mixed emotions about it. I think, so I was sitting here listening to that clip, it's a bigger deal in a place like Los Angeles with a history of, racial strife and, discontent with the police, BLM, Antifa riots. I think LA is kind of synonymous with with civil unrest. I think in that case, two things about the politicians. I agree that they should probably resign because I don't think they're going to be able to function effectively. They may not have lost trust with their constituents, but I think working with other uh, counselors and up from other parts of the city, I think they might not be able to work effectively. The other thing is, as a politician, I mean, we live in like deep into the internet social media age. The term used to be the walls have ears. Well, they literally do now, and everybody has a camera. So, unfortunately, you have to act your age and, not be a human page 6, which is a gossip column. So I think what they did was inappropriate. I think they were supposed to be doing the people's business for one thing, and they obviously weren't. Maybe they were on a lunch break. I don't know. But the thing is someone in that group recorded them. This wasn't an open mic. So I think, unfortunately, if this had happened in McMurray, North Carolina, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But, this is LA with a history of racial issues.
So what's the most damaging thing about that interaction? What's the most damaging thing?
I think the only damage is public image. I don't think there's any deep damage. The city's already damaged. I don't think
No. What's the most damaging thing about what they said?
I think the most. You mean to the politician who said it, or to the the community?
I'm saying, what's the most damaging thing that was said in that conversation? What did you take issues with?
Well, I do have a thing for, you shouldn't be picking on adopted kids. I mean, if the kid is running around, and I think she more or less did say that, the parents weren't very good parents. So I don't know, but she did call him like whatever the word is in Spanish for little monkey, which is like everybody knows you don't say that about, black kids or black people. It's just a cultural taboo. And whether one likes it or not, it is. And that's just the way it is. And if she wasn't smart enough to know this, a little decorum in our politicians, I don't think it's going to hurt anybody, hurt the politician, hurt the constituents. Let's get some people who conduct themselves better. And when you're on the clock doing people's business, let's be professional.
Okay, so let me give my thoughts. Let me say, first of all, let me give her a little charity. I think, first of all, she was trying to say that there was obviously this kid who was misbehaving and his parents wasn't doing anything about it.
Why did you speak to the parent?
Yeah, let me finish. His parent didn't do anything about it, didn't try to tell the child to behave, and she was sort of frustrated about it. Now, where I take issues with is why she had to make that distinction. Oh, there's a white parent and a black kid. Why was that necessary in that conversation? I mean, she could just easily have said there was a man with his kid and his kid was just prancing about. Mm-hmm. I'm very sure if she hadn't even mentioned white and black, maybe this whole situation wouldn't be the bombshell that it is right now. So that she had to make that distinction, it's one of the things that's troubling to me. Now, the other thing that's troubling to me is that little monkey comment she made, she had to switch to Spanish. So probably she understood that this was something that was not appropriate. And she probably did not want people there to understand what she was saying. And she had to switch to Spanish to say that part. So that's where my charity ends with this woman. I mean, it's crazy. Why would you say something like I could have said, well, this is not a big deal. If she just said there was a man and his kid, and the kid was prancing about like a monkey. I could have made a defense for her, like, all right, this child was misbehaving. She wasn't calling him a racial slur. She was just saying he was misbehaving like a monkey would misbehave if you put a monkey somewhere. But that she mentioned black, white, and she switched to Spanish, nah, not a good look.
Well, the thing is there's a high like Hispanic population in Los Angeles and California, Southern California. So why did she think that was going to really like protect her? You know, switching to a language that a lot of people speak. You know, that makes me wonder even more.
Mm. Yeah, these politicians, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing. But is it something to have protests over? I mean, I think I've heard that there are protests, BLM protests and all that. I don't think it's something to protest over.
I think if she had just resigned, you know, I mean, people have a right to protest, and I'll be honest with you. You or I may not lose a lot of sweat over it, but you know, if my city councilor or someone that literally, you know, they were talking about who gets what in which district, do I really want someone like that? You know, do I really trust a person who can't conduct themselves in a more professional manner on the people's dime? I mean, they were doing the people's work. This wasn't happy hour after work.
Mm.
I mean,
But
if we expect politicians to be, you know, examples, and I don't know. I think I could see why someone would want to protest.
I'm having a hard time saying that because I think that even the politicians. Okay, there's a part I forgot to mention. The man that was weeping. That was so dramatic for me. I don't understand why he was weeping because of the comment. It's crazy. I mean, that was textbook acting. Why was he acting like that?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Damn.
All I have to say is, you know, politicians talk a lot about accountability, but you know, they talk the talk, but you know, if you're going to lose the public's trust like that, you know, take accountability and quit. Now, I mean, if your constituents, you know, she goes to her constituents and they're like, hey, no problem. Ralph Northam, which is a similar situation, the governor of Virginia, who like 80 years ago was in blackface when he was in college or something, and black people in Virginia basically said, no, we don't want you to quit. So, you know, he's about the only politician I can think of that's gotten away with that unscathed. But, you know, I guess if your constituents say, hey, we want you to stay, I guess, you know, she did resign the presidency. I don't know the intimate details, like what her constituents were saying, but I think the protesters had, number one, a right to protest. And I think they probably had a little bit of a, you know, just cause.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. Herschel Walker versus Raphael Warnock. Did you see that debate?
The whole thing.
So what were your impressions? What were your impressions of that debate?
I think Herschel Walker did I mean, it depends. He set the bar low. You know, right off the bat, he was saying, you know, hey, y'all, expect Raphael Warnock to look, you know, smooth and polished. And, you know, he put on his I'm a country boy act. Quite frankly, it wasn't an act. He is a country boy. I actually was on the University of Georgia campus at the time he was there, at least after he did schoolwork after he graduated, or actually he didn't graduate. After he became a pro, sometimes you'd see him around campus in the off season. So, oops, sorry, I may have to go in. I'm out on the porch. He set the bar low. I think for the bar that he set, he did fine. It wasn't an awfully politician smooth performance, but he met expectations. And something that I kind of talked about with someone else earlier, his strong emphasis was, tearing down Joe Biden and tearing down Warnock for being Joe Biden's puppet. That was his number one theme of the night, and frankly, I think for his type of voter, he was effective.
What about Warnock? What were your impressions of Warnock?
Again, he's not a very dynamic. You would expect someone who's the pastor of Martin Luther King's old church. He doesn't have Martin Luther King's rhetorical style. I'll put it that way. He's a lot more reserved. He was on target. He was on point, and he scored a couple body shots. If you want to make that kind of analogy.
I missed those shots apparently.
But I think it was a draw at best. And if you really want to think about it, Herschel Walker basically being able to stay in the game, you could argue that he actually won.
In my opinion, he did.
In my opinion, but I'm kind of into politics, so I'm a little bit jaded. To me, it's like, dude I don't think he's going to be very capable. I think he's going to be a placeholder, but that it is what it is.
Yeah. Now the place that surprised me the most with Warnock was when he was asked about his church evicting people. His response was that response wasn't satisfactory, and I think that was his lowest point in debate. His lowest point in this debate.
He did go on a few minutes later to say that nobody was evicted, but he should. I agree with you. He should have gone right then and there, hard and strong. We did not, because I think there was a newspaper story that Walker mentioned. So, I mean, that was a little bit of a yeah. I'm surprised he wasn't prepared for that, frankly.
Yeah, he said something like, "Nobody has been evicted."
Right. But that also leaves open the door that it was attempted.
Exactly.
So I don't think he won on that, and I think just Herschel Walker being able to pull that little trick, probably, I think it's going to be close. I think for me it was a draw, but for someone who is a true believer. I think Herschel Walker won, and for anybody who might have been holding their breath, they're relieved. Now, just as an aside, there was a second debate last night that Walker didn't show up to, but it's not going to hurt one way or the other. He did his one debate, and he did what he had to do. So he's still competitive, and it would not surprise me if he won. But, there are problems with that because, there are a lot of Republicans who are like, what are we doing? I mean, Mitch McConnell's one of them, his comment about candidate quality. And personally, I think, Herschel Walker, with some of the stuff that's happened in his personal life, I think well, I'm not going to get into that because it's a little off topic. But I think Herschel Walker pretty much de facto won in that he held his own.
All right, I agree with you on that. So let's go over to the next topic before we go to the main topic for today. So the next topic, parody of womanhood. So I'll just play a few clips and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
Dylan Mulvaney guy or something. Let me just play.
No, I don't think I am. Maybe, okay. But I'm not. It doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, so play a video.
Very applicable to my current situation.
Okay, and I believe it's in here. Yes.
Good.
Yes. Do you want to walk us through what this is?
I do. Okay. So everyone. Shocker, I'm still working with a little machinery downstairs.
Not machinery.
Yeah, well,
I love it.
She's something. So this is what we like to call tuck tape. And basically, it's like a giant Band-Aid. It really is like a Band-Aid. And I made a video on this, which I think a lot of people were like, oh, wow, okay, this is how it goes. And there's a lot of ways to do it. But this is how I tuck my little privates away.
Okay.
And I can wear, especially like shorts and things. But this has become like a big part of my life in that routine. Like even the makeup, like this is now something that like it feels almost sacred in a way.
Right.
And so I want you to have one.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Just, you never know. And I thought maybe it might be fun. I've never signed one of these.
You know what? I think you should sign it.
You might be the only one to ever have a signed Dylan tuck tape.
Just Dylan signing the tuck tape.
I feel like I'm signed. Like I feel like I'm being drafted to like the NFL right now, and this is definitely how this is what the contract for a sports team looks like.
Still playing the video.
And you know these things, they're waterproof, and I feel like I'm like it's an infomercial now. We're on QVC, baby.
Yeah,
but there you are.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, everyone! This is a signed piece of tuck tape from Dylan. Right here, let's take a look at this. For those people watching that are not in community, this is, for a lot of people, this means a lot.
It's armor.
It's armor.
It's power. And it's also, in a way, conformity.
Charles?
And it's all a perspective thing, because that is me walking out into the binary, in a way.
For me, it's not moving at all.
But if that's for me and not for them, that's all that matters.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to come inside. It was a little noisy out.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for spending this time with us.
I just feel like we could talk for hours. I love you.
We
I
really
can't wait
could.
to
so
for
much
our
love for you.
adventures together.
I know.
Well,
Hey, Steve.
hey, Stanley. How's it going?
Pretty good. I can't complain.
Good. How you doing, Charles?
Hey Steve, how are you doing? Let me just play this second video.
Day 75 of being a girl, and I've been carrying around tampons and pads for the past 2 months, but I've actually never opened one up. So let's do it. Woohoo! I thought the letters stood for small, medium, and large based on the size of your Barbie pouch, but after a Google, I found out it's actually the level of your flow. So there's
Okay, so now what I just played is that's a man. That's a man that Brad, sorry, I'm not advertising. I actually put this user on timeout, or I blocked this user, and it's still coming back. My hand has accidentally touched that. So Steve, are you familiar with this Dylan guy? Dylan Mulvaney guy, are you familiar with him?
Not really.
Okay, so he's a trans, would I say trans woman that's gone on this campaign of 200 days or 300 days or 365 days of girlhood. Is documenting his experiences as a girl, and to me, he's just making a caricature of what it means to be a woman, or what it means to be a girl. Understand? Like the previous tape, the previous video I was showing, he actually had a pouch. He designed a pouch that he uses to hide his crotch, so he can wear short skirts and things like that. He does some ridiculous things. Like the last one I showed you, it took pads, I think pads, and he was talking about he didn't know that this pad size was meant to represent the level of your flow. So he just does a lot of crazy things, and I've been seeing a lot of things on Twitter this past few days, and it's amazing to me how what it means to be a woman now is being caricatured, is being derided, and everybody seems fine with it. There's a video of this same guy going to the White House to meet Joe Biden. I don't know how true that is, but he did show him going to the White House. He did show him being inside the White House with pictures of the White House and all that. And he declared that he's not going to release anything until the official official interaction is out. And it just, why would the president want to meet with someone who parodies women like this? So what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I don't care. I know that sounds funny, but honestly, some of this stuff, it's like, I give a lot of thought to this because I'm always questioning my own motives and I'm always questioning my own beliefs, and the whole conversation around trans folk is it's mystifying to me how people care about other people and their genitals like that. Like it mystifies me. I don't care what you do. Dress like a purple people eater. I don't really give a shit. We can have a conversation about trans kids and stuff like that. Sure, we should. That's a viable conversation that we should have. But to give a crap what anybody does as an adult, it still astounds me. And on top of that, the other topic of conversation, the argument always goes like this: I don't want a man in my wife's bathroom. Okay, well, the problem isn't that it's a man. The problem is that he's got a penis, right? Because you never hear them complaining, well, I don't want a woman in my boy's bathroom. It's never about the vagina. It's always about the penis. So it's almost like they just think that every person with a penis is a rapist. It's like it's not a good argument. It's not a good look on them. So, I mean, when you look at all sides of it, it's a ridiculous argument.
Stanley, what do you think?
Pretty much what Steve thinks. I think children, the discussion around children is legitimate. I pretty much find myself in agreement with Steve. Why do we care so much? Why are we obsessing over this? I suspect, and I'm not going to get into it here because it's not the topic of the show, but I'm not going to get into it. I agree with Steve. That's the bottom line. We're making way too big a deal out of this.
Okay, if you guys say so. I think even as much as you don't really care about what people do with themselves, fine, I don't care about that. But I think it's making a mockery of what womanhood is, and not just womanhood, what girlhood. I mean, I think there was a documentary or there was a video of him talking to girls on what it means to be a girl. This is a grown man, a full-grown man who now identifies as a woman, who's never been through any of the things that young girls go through, telling them what it means to be a girl. I think that's wrong on so many levels.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, that's Charles, a valid argument.
You've known me a long time, and I'm literally probably the only thing that I am like to the right of Genghis Khan on is education and parenting. Okay. I think everything is the parent's fault until the kid is 18. But that's my personal quirk. Okay. I call me controlling. Dude, my parents, who were strict parents, think I'm too strict. That's how, and I'm not, cruel. I'm not, but I have standards. And I just think, if there is one of two or three, kind of things that conservatives are associated with, parenting is one of them. Strong parenting is another. I don't think it has to be religious, but I think there have to be standards. And if your little girls are hanging out with this dude, then I blame the parents.
I agree. I agree on that front. So I know, Steve, you want to get something in. Let me just address what Brad is saying.
It was my right-wing moment.
Brad is saying that if the transition is sincere, Charles, I think you're behaving rudely. But first of all, I'm giving my opinion. I don't see how my opinion can be seen as behaving rudely. Number two, how do you know it's sincere? Who determines whether it's sincere or not? So if it's not sincere, is it appropriate for me to say what I'm saying now? So how do I gauge whether his transition is sincere or not? But based on what I've seen, the way he's carried himself on the internet, I just think it's making mockery. It doesn't portray any sense of sincerity to me. In that sense, would I be okay to now say this? So what I'm saying, if he's not sincere. So I don't know, man. Anyhow, let's go on to the main topic of discussion for today. And I'm sure everyone has seen this video.
Well, hold on, Charles. I didn't get to talk.
All right, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
I'll make it really quick. I promise. Because you know me, I got a little bit of time today. But the whole thing is about whether it's sincere or not is almost irrelevant from the fact that no one can tell whether someone else is sincere or whether they're not. Right? So you have to meet people where they're at. So if they're presenting as female, I'm going to believe them until they prove otherwise. You know what I mean? So it really doesn't bother me. You know, I went to the liquor store to pick up some 14-year-old scotch because I'm that kind of guy. And there was a trans woman in the aisle, and she was the one that was she was the cashier. I don't give a shit. I really, really don't. I said, "Hey, how you doing? Have a nice day." All the fun stuff that you say to anybody else. I was just polite and courteous because really that exchange does not require me to do anything other than to have the most basic set of social etiquettes of kindness, compassion, and what do they call it? Oh, now my words are escaping me. Just some sense of decorum. You know, Stanley mentioned Emily Post. You know, it's just a basic way of treating other human beings, regardless of how they dress, how they identify. You know what I mean? It's no different than any other interaction. So I really don't see the sense in having to try and figure out whether they are sincere or they're not sincere. I think it's a matter of meeting a human being where that human being is at. You can disagree with them. You can disagree with what they're doing all day long.
Of course.
But at least have some common courtesy and treat them like a human being.
So I agree with the fact that you cannot actually tell whether someone is sincere or not. Only they know. Anybody could be acting for all we know. So, but now if you look at what this person is doing, you see that they are taking the stereotype of womanhood and exaggerating it to the extreme. There's a video I saw where he was hiking. Was it the something of being a girl? Was hiking with heels in the bush part. And you ask yourself, do women really wear heels when they go hiking? Is that really an accurate representation of what women do? But in his mind, this is how women are, wearing pink, wearing the short skirts and wearing the high heels, and you're on a hiking trail. So I just feel that it's an extreme exaggeration and a caricature of what it means to be a woman. That's just my...
I don't know, man. Okay, so I got to give an example. So here in Utah, we get snow, right? It gets down to about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually it hovers right around the 20 mark, but it can get down to 0. I will not kid you. I will see a girl in high school, because I live right next to a high school. I will watch a girl walking to school in short shorts and a hoodie. A lot of the style sensibilities that a lot of the women that I know have do not comport with what should be being done in that weather, right? You should be wearing pants, boots, a coat, right? This girl is wearing short shorts and a hoodie and some white tennis shoes. Like, their style doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I see them doing a lot of weird things. I'll see them, freezing ass weather, and they're wearing leggings. I couldn't do that. I'd need to be warm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some of their style sensibilities don't make any sense. I don't think really that's the issue. I think the issue is he's making fun of how nonsensical their attire can be on occasion just to look good.
All right. So now that we have that contentious one out of the way, let's move on to the good stuff. So I'll just play the clip. Just play the clip, I hope. Yep. Here it is.
I would assume, maybe incorrectly, but while abortion is an issue, it nowhere reaches the level of interest of voters in terms of the cost of gas, food, bread, milk, things like that. What could you do as governor to alleviate the concerns of Georgia voters about those livability, daily, hourly issues that they're confronted with?
But let's be clear. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. For women, this is not a reductive issue. You can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy from the economic realities of having a child. And so it's important for us to have both and conversations. We don't have the luxury of reducing it or separating them out, but we also have to talk about what a governor can do.
All right, so that's the clip. What do you guys think?
Bang on. I got no argument.
About what?
Okay, so he asked her a question that abortion is one of the issues, but it's not the top trending issue for why in this election cycle. There are other things like high food prices, high gas prices, and all that stuff. So what is she going to do as a governorship candidate to address those issues, those other pressing issues? And then she says
there's nothing she can do about gas prices other than, adjusting state taxes.
And that's not very much of the gas price either.
Right.
It's mostly federal price.
That's not the only thing that was mentioned. There was food prices, there was gas prices, there was, let's just say the economy is in tatters right now. People are facing a very harsh economic reality, a harsh economic situation. As a governorship candidate, what are you going to do?
There is
What are you going to do to help?
Let me go here. She can do absolutely nothing other than little things like taxes. Governors can do tax holidays where you suspend, say, taxes. They do it every year for school supplies. She can suspend state level taxes, but she can't do anything about like a macro U.S. economy thing. There's nothing a governor can do. And I think it's a little bit of an unfair question.
There is nothing a governor can do. So
other than what I listed?
So there is nothing on the economic front that the governor can do.
No.
Not really.
Not really. So how does abortion help?
Well, what she's saying is that, a lot of abortions happen because women aren't in a financial situation to be able to afford children. So, if you're having no money for food and no money for, to get to work, etc., you always hear, at least in the US, it's not the right time to have a child, or I want to, get a job and establish a career and then move on to a family. People, in theory, plan, for families. So, economics is integral to child rearing. It's one of the most expensive things that a married couple will pay for. Children are expensive. Frankly.
Yeah. I would add on to that is if you're there's two different types. There's the type that was expecting to have a kid and the type that was not. And those who are deciding to have a child weigh in economic interests very, very high. They're looking at the economy, interest rates, because maybe they need to upgrade their house, their car. There's many things that they're going to be going through, right? And so all of these things go into making the decision to have a child. Those who didn't expect to have a child don't have necessarily the same means. And even if they did, there's a very different distinction in that. Whereas, when you accidentally have a kid, I will say that, or unintentionally, not accidentally, because it's usually pretty intentional. When you have a child, you're now forced to make a lot of decisions very quickly. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get an apartment. You're trying to get, maybe you're trying to buy a house. And again, economics comes into it, but in drastically different ways. The price of raising children, and everybody here should know this, from me to Charles to Stanley, is caring financially for children is expensive. If I remember correctly, way back in like the early 2000s, maybe the 2010s, they estimated that it cost around $1 million to $2 million to raise a child from birth to 18 or something like that. It was rather expensive. So
I think that $1 million mark is pretty much it.
I think it's pretty accurate.
That's like a normal everyday meal.
I can't hear you very well, Stanley.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
That's like a normal Joe, like you or me. I mean, if you have money, you'll spend more. I mean, that's what parents do. They want the best for the children.
Yeah. So I think her point was dead on, is you can't divorce economic hardships from raising a child. They are intrinsically linked together. The price of baby powder, baby formula, diapers. I mean, everything in your world just got doubled and then some. So yeah, I agree with her. You can't divorce the economic conversation from having children. So yeah, it does have part of a conversation in the abortion debate. Definitely.
I fundamentally disagree with the both of you. She said having children is the reason why you are worried about the gas prices. Having children is the reason why you are worried about feeding. That is not correct, because I could be a single person and not have any kid and still be worried about gas prices or still be worried about food prices. But that aside,
that wasn't her point.
No, let me finish my point. Now, supposing you already have a kid and the economy is this bad, what's her solution for you? How is abortion going to help you in that situation?
The economy, there's a lot of hyperbole with this economy. So let me start with that. I mean, this isn't the 1970s where we've got like, 15% in, interest rates and stagflation. It's nowhere near that. So I think that what she's saying is you can't care about abortion and not care about the economy. You can care about the economy and not care about abortion. That's possible. Right. That's her argument.
Yeah, I was going to make the exact same argument in a different way. Is that maybe she wasn't being specific enough, and maybe she could have been more inclusive of more reasons why you would be worried about it, about the economy. But for real, like if you're having a kid, the economy does play a massive and distinct role. I mean, when you're single, maybe it'll play a role. Maybe it'll play a role in gas prices, but food prices, not really so much. Most single people eat like ass. It's usually ramen and eggs and bacon and milk, and those things are fairly inexpensive here in the U.S. I mean, you can eat like a king for pretty cheap here in the U.S. That's why that's the thing, is we don't even track deaths by starvation in the U.S. anymore because they're so low. The biggest problem we have, especially in poor areas, is obesity.
Right.
Like, we don't have a problem with food in this country. So, but gas prices definitely, like I didn't take some of the vacations I wanted to take this year because gas prices were so high. It doubled the cost of my vacation. So it definitely has influences, just even on the smallest things like taking a vacation.
Yeah. And I mean, the prices out where you are, Steve, are probably like astronomically higher. Like I was, gas is at $3.15 where I am in Georgia, which is
high. It's like $4.50 here.
Yeah. So, I mean,
$5.50 for a gallon of diesel.
where you are in the country affects your gas prices also. So
tag $2 to $3 on top of that for California.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's insane to consider abortion as an economic option.
It is
as a way of addressing any economic issue.
Well, no, she's not saying that.
Taking into consideration the fact that, yes, okay, you are not ready for a pregnancy, you are not ready, you do not have the finances, you're in a tough economic situation. Good and fine. There are 1,000 ways to not get pregnant in the first place. And I'm not talking about contraception has failed and all that, which are rare cases, or the rape cases and all that. I'm talking about for the vast majority of people, there are options available to them to not get pregnant.
But
now to use the lives of the lives of children, I don't care whether it's a red herring, to use the lives of children as an economic point, as an abortion, whether or not people.
I mean, to me, she's basically saying, if you're a single issue, her whole point is that life is integrated. Okay, being a single, and Irony has made this same point. Single issue voters, man, life is integrated. Okay, people shouldn't be voting for single issues, in my opinion.
I agree with that. You know, the only thing, though, I will say this, and I will admit it freely, the only thing that I am a single issue voter on is gun rights. If it comes down to gun rights, I'm a single issue guy. So if you don't mess with the gun rights, then life does definitely get more nuanced. The conversations that I need to have are definitely more nuanced.
Why do you draw that arbitrary distinction with gun rights? I don't think that someone else can use abortion as the line for them to be a single issue.
I can't hear you very well, Charles. I'm sorry.
Why do you draw the distinction with gun rights as the single issue and feel consistent in what you're saying? But if someone wants to use abortion and say, this is the line for me, this is the single most important issue for me, then that's a problem. But you think that you can say, anyone wants to take away my guns, this is the red line for me, and I can be a single issue voter based on this, and you still think you're consistent?
Because at the end of the day, if all I want to do is stay in my house and defend my castle, then that's all I need to do. I don't need to give a damn about anything else.
So it's arbitrary.
It's absolutely arbitrary.
Well, I mean, he's seeing it as a survival issue, basically.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's still I think in what Charles is saying is the difference between the abortion debate and the gun debate for me is definitely arbitrary, in the sense that you don't have to care about what I care about. But if I want to stay home and I want to be at home with my family and not do a damn thing and not care about anybody else on this planet, the only thing I need to worry about is protecting and defending my family. That's it, period, bar none. Nothing else needs to matter to me. Everything else comes after that.
Right. Well, you know what? I don't even think about gun rights because we have a Second Amendment. So,
right.
I'd never question,
Yeah. But I think to give Charles some charity here, I think, we have similar beliefs where, we all understand that abortion is morally questionable. The only difference is where we believe that line is drawn. Now, Charles, to respect his faith and his beliefs, he believes that's at conception. Okay. I do not believe that. Now, these differences, while they appear to be massive on the face, in the end, nobody's okay with third trimester abortions. There's so few of those that actually happen that I don't even know why we would even talk about late third term abortions. They just don't fucking happen. It's such rare situations that actually occur. So most of the majority of abortions occur within the first 12 weeks.
And a lot of those late trimester abortions, these people would give like anything not to have an abortion.
Absolutely. They want to have that if they went that
Exactly.
long, they want that child.
Exactly.
So most of the late term abortions are usually forced,
Tragedies
medically forced
for the parent.
for the parent. Yeah. So, I think, to give charity, Charles obviously cares about children
Right.
in every form they come in, from inception to, or I should say from conception to, till he's dead,
Well,
what I mean? And probably
now
after that, if he follows
double
his
check,
faith.
he might think Inception too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I use the wrong word. But and I think those kind of nuanced perspectives are valuable, but for me, I try not to hold on to any belief that hard. Like, I want to talk about it. I want to see, maybe, because we share a society, we have to share some level of commitment to compromise.
Yeah,
That's
the
my
thing
personal
is,
opinion.
being in Georgia, there's some things that, that aren't going to happen, like probably in the next 100 years in places like Georgia. So it would not shock me if they banned abortion outright. I don't think they'd go that far, but Georgia's in that zone. It would not shock me if they just banned abortions outright.
Yeah, I mean, there's some states that are sketchy. They're definitely sketchy, but even in some of those states, the last report I read was nearly every single abortion clinic in the United States, or every doctor who performs abortions, will refuse to perform an abortion after 26 weeks. Now, 26 weeks is a long ass time.
Mhm.
That's too long for me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But even if you take, third trimester, that's what, 12 weeks, or yeah, that's about 12 weeks, right? I think that's reasonable, honestly.
I think it's reasonable too. As a matter of fact, I think 12 weeks is reasonable.
If you miss 3 periods and you don't know you're pregnant, there's a
Yeah.
problem.
Well,
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I'm not a woman, so I'm not going to go there, but I think 3
Yeah.
months is definitely enough. Now, and Charles, let us know, referee us,
Okay,
anyway,
so
I'll get off the topic.
let me jump right back in. So, first of all, Steve, whether it's 1 week, whether it's a term, those are arbitrary distinctions because they are just the same. They are just like they continuum. It's an arbitrary distinction for me to say I would allow abortion from the first week, or from the first day to the 12 weeks, and then from 12 weeks downwards. I think that's a distinction without a difference. Now, the second argument you made, which was, oh, there are so few abortions, late-term abortions happening, that it's not really a concern. Well, isn't that the same arguments that conservatives use when they say, oh, there are so few cases of pregnancies due to rape. There are so few cases of pregnancies due to incest. So why are we using those as examples of why we need abortion? That's the exact same argument. But you're perfectly willing to make it for your position and accept it, or you're going to reject it when the other side makes that same argument. So I'm just requiring a little form of consistency here. That we have to come out and say it's an all or none thing. You can't accept that same argument when it favors your position and dismiss it when it doesn't favor
Actually,
your
you
position.
can. It's a different argument.
I refuse the dichotomy argument.
Exactly.
That it has to be either or. I refuse that argument because there's so much nuance to everything.
But you just made the argument that late-term abortions are not a problem because there are so few, so we should allow abortions. There's so few.
No, that's not what he's saying. I mean, usually when they happen that late, they're necessities. They're not options.
Is there any?
You got a stillborn or like a major defect? Most of those are not the mother saying, I want to terminate. They are literally mother or child sort of decisions.
Really? Is there any way you can speak to that I can verify this statement you just made?
I don't have the stats right here, but the bottom line is like Steve said, most doctors aren't going to do it unless the life of the mother is at stake.
Okay.
Because the child is viable at that stage. Am I? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've literally, like, it's illegal. You will run afoul of the law because the child can live without the mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's 26 weeks is 4 weeks. Yeah. I'm sorry, 4 months.
Yeah, that's why I disagree with the 26. I don't want abortions personally. My personal opinion. I don't want abortions being performed that late.
Yeah,
You know,
unless they're life of the mother. I agree with that. Viability is my line. And before that, 12 weeks is good enough. But viability, all bets are off. No way.
Right. And you know, the criticism that I think Charles should give libertarians is this: is at some point in time, us libertarians have to have the conversation about where something is truly morally wrong to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where a lot of libertarians try and escape that conversation and just say, well, it's none of my business. I shouldn't be involved, blah, 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 blah. Well, at some point in time, to have a society that doesn't degenerate into the worst possible outcome, you have to have those difficult conversations. I'm willing to have those conversations, but I find most libertarians just obtusely ignorant and trying to escape culpability of a responsibility of living in a society.
Well, exactly. And basically their argument, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a libertarian, but their reluctance is to impose societal will on an individual.
Sorry, say that again.
The hesitation is having society decide what an individual. Basically, you're usurping a mother's right to do as she pleases after a certain time, and that's the whole libertarian. The reason they're reluctant.
Yeah, very much so.
So, I mean, there comes a point in time when you know what, you got a viable human being there. Your intentions don't matter anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then, I still wrangle with the fact that it's like still not my body, but I still have to have that conversation. And it's frustrating because I feel like I'm betraying my political beliefs, but yeah.
All right. Good conversation. You guys have held your positions very well and very strongly. Made good points. Not convinced.
Real quick, Charles, can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Okay. So the good thing about where you stand on abortion, Charles, is it's a very easy decision for you to make, right? And it's an easy decision for you to make as a family unit. Like if you and your wife don't believe in not getting an abortion, that's really easy for you to play out. You just don't get one, right? But there still has to be a conversation about the people that do want to get one. And are we pushing our beliefs and our morality onto people that don't deserve it?
Well, let me step in right here. I don't think within a certain societally accepted time limit, I don't think people have a right to impose their morality on somebody else.
Right.
I am so individual choice within a legal framework that people, everybody has an opinion, but to impose, your beliefs on somebody else, I think is just, reprehensible.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that I agree with you guys wholeheartedly, totally on that. Nobody has a right. Nobody should have the right to impose their beliefs, whether political, moral, religious, on any other person, right? Now, the issue with abortion for me is you guys are seeing it differently from the way I see it. The way I see it, as much as nobody has a right to impose on any other person, yet if somebody is trying to take the life of another person, I should be morally compelled to act But anybody should be morally compelled to act to save the life of the party that's about to be taken away unfairly. I cannot say because I don't have the you know what, I don't have the I cannot impose my morality on this person. So I'm seeing someone trying to kill another person unjustly, then I'll just sit by and say I can't impose my morality. I can't impose my sense of justice.
Well, the thing
So for
is
me,
I'm sorry, guys.
let me finish my point.
I gotta go. I gotta go, Charles Stanley. I love you guys, but I gotta go. I just remember.
To me,
I'll talk to you guys later.
I see. Yes, thanks, Dave. I see the fetus as a distinct individual of its own, worthy of protection. Right.
Well,
so
that's where
we disagree. I
see it as a potential person.
I see it as a person. So before a woman gets pregnant, she can do whatever the hell she wants with her body. I mean, that's nobody's business. She can do whatever she wants. But as long as the pregnancy has been conceived, to me, it's no longer her body. So the argument of her body, her choice, doesn't fly for me anymore, because I see there are two distinct individuals right now, and we have the rights of both individuals have to be respected, and one person's right should not have to trump the other person's right. So that's where
and that's where the whole slavery narrative starts coming in. The woman's body is not her own. That's a potential landmine.
No, it's not a potential landmine, because for me, I'm not, okay, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because nobody today is going to say the woman's body is not her body, so I'm going to make her a slave. And I don't know how that's a potential landmine, though. Maybe it could have been in the past, but today that's not going to be used as a justification to enslave women or enslave anyone. I don't think.
Right. But I also want you to know something. I mean, I have, the way I would conduct it, but I'm a cradle Catholic, and, I'm not, very religious these days, but even today, it wouldn't be a personal option for me. I've got a 16-year-old, as everybody knows. You know what? You've literally made your bed. Now there's going to be a third. There personally, but I think, external to my realm of control, everybody has their right to do as they choose within a legal framework.
Yep. So let me respond to Brad. Brad says, I'd be more open to your position if the man who got her pregnant was bound to her and had to go through everything she did. Now, what makes you think that I don't share this same sentiment? What makes you think that the sole responsibility should just be on the woman? Of course not. If you've gotten a woman pregnant, you have to be responsible. I mean, you have to be responsible. So it's not a woman thing now. It takes two to tango. It's two people that came together to create a life, and it shouldn't ever have to be the responsibility of one person. So I'm never in 1,000 years going to absolve a man of responsibilities once he gets a woman pregnant and
Can you read the comment again? Because the impression I got is the experience of a woman is something that a man doesn't go through. Can you reread it?
I'd be more open to your position if the man who got her pregnant was bound to her and had to go through everything she did.
Right. So, I mean, I'm assuming he means like the physical experience. And to a certain extent, I agree with him.
But it's not possible. It's not possible.
Well, it's not possible.
It's an unreasonable requirement because it's not possible.
I mean, he's basically making the argument that until you've walked in another woman's shoes, do you really know? Do you really have the I don't know, ethical versus moral?
I do, because half of what is there is mine. Half of me is in there, so I should have a right as to what happens to it. It's not just her.
I mean, I agree with you too. I'm just saying, and I think his argument is, having a bunch of Ted Cruzes sitting around, moralizing about, rights and wrongs and when life begins and stuff like this. It just does not ring true in a house that is something like Congress that is like 90% men speaking for 50% of the population, who happens not to be men. There are a lot of people who argue that Congress is not as representative of, the American demographic as it should be. Frankly, it never has been. It's probably better now than it ever was in almost 250 years. So, there are a lot of arguments out there. I understand Brad's arguments, but you are actually at least, oh, what am I going to say? You're one of the good ones. I mean, you are there, and I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I'm there. um, you know, um, I've changed my share of diapers. One of these days, I'll tell you the story about this thing. It was so traumatic, I didn't even want to call my wife to this. it was just me and the boy. We're not going to tell mommy about this massive poop.
I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't a diaper change that was necessary. I had to run a bath.
I still struggle with all that. At times I'm like, oh, like when my daughter just soils herself and I'm trying to clean her up and everything it's getting on me, it's getting on her, it's getting messy.
Hey,
I have to call for help.
You got to embrace it, baby. Got to embrace it.
I have to give women the props. They are really fantastic. I mean, at what they do, taking care of children, taking care of the home, taking care of us. There are times I'm looking for stuff and my wife just finds it, and it's right there in front of me, and I don't see it, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, Brad, I think that the man shares equal responsibility for the offspring that he produces, not less, and not any less than the woman. And every man who has willingly had a sexual encounter with a woman that could result in a pregnancy should be held responsible. And I don't think that just because the man is irresponsible or the woman is irresponsible, that the child has to be the one to suffer, has to be the one to bear the brunt. I mean, we wouldn't say that for a child who's already born and the father decides to abscond. We wouldn't say, oh, because the mother is in a tough situation right now, so why don't we just kill the child? I see it as the same thing, whether the child is born or whether the child is still in the womb. It should have the right to be protected as long as life has been given to it. So,
well, the only
that's my
thing
position.
is, though, where, if society is going to impose this sort of thing on individuals, society should be just as responsible. And the argument is made, definitely on the left and probably only on the left, that society stops caring about children when they're born. The day they're born is the day society just kind of goes, oh, our job is done. And
but that's a bad thing too. That's why should society stop caring at that point when the child is born? They shouldn't. So the answer to that shouldn't be kill them before they are born. The answer to that is we should start caring for them now that they are born.
Well, it's kind of a different, sort of argument, but that's when childcare and women, infants. I don't even know what the program is now, where we're making sure that kids, after school programs, just a bunch of different social welfare sort of things that Congress is very willing to cut back on. And it's kind of probably for a different show. But I think I think there's a valid argument that you will hear the Lindsey Grahams of the world proposing grand legislation to protect the unborn child, but you know what? As soon as that child is born there in South Carolina, it's like, hey, you're on your own, kid. Hopefully you got good parents. You know, just like the unborn child needs to be protected, children don't get to choose their parents.
But
So,
aren't children protected if the child is undergoing? Isn't there child protection services in the U.S.? Aren't there bodies that
yeah.
monitor what happens to children? I think this
Well,
is
generally they
hyperbolic.
have to be alerted. You know, it's not like automatic monitoring, you know, where
Exactly,
they
because they're not gods. They can't be everywhere.
right.
They're
But
human beings as well.
what I'm saying, and I read a lot of news here in the United States. It is not uncommon to see kids shot up in a school. Okay, that's a child care issue. You know, if you can't send your school or your kid to a school that, is, safe, by and large, statistically, they are safe, but they're, random, outbreaks of, kids being slaughtered. I mean, that's childcare. That's a childcare issue. That's a post-birth issue. And there are a lot of people, myself included, who don't think that our politicians are doing the best they can. And there's probably nothing you can't protect against a lone madman, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know that politicians even pretend to care. You know, we sell more guns after mass school shootings, and when Democrats get elected to the president than any other time.
So I want to respond to what Brad is writing here. He says a man should share equal responsibility. Show me the stats on how many do. Why should I have to show the stats? Okay, it's just like saying the police shouldn't kill black people. Okay, I'm saying the police shouldn't kill black people. Police are killing black people indiscriminately, right? I am saying they shouldn't kill black people, and you're asking me, show me the stats that say they do. I don't know. Why should that be a requirement for them to do what they should be doing in the first place? The thing is that fathers should be taking care of their offspring. If they are not doing it, what can we do to make sure that they do? That they are not doing it is not enough to just say, oh, because they're not doing it, let's kill the kids. Sorry, Stanley, I'll let you respond. But let me go over to the next point.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
No, but he said, when I was talking about men should be responsible for their offspring, and he said a man should share equal responsibility. Show me the stats on how many do that. How many men actually take care of their offspring? Why should that be a prerequisite?
He's talking about things like, well, I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge that you can look at marriage rates, you can look at divorce rates, you can look at single motherhood statistics, etc. I think you could just get the impression that men aren't doing everything that they can.
Agreed. Why aren't we fixing that? Why should we take that fact and say, because of this fact, then the child has to, then abortion, then the child has to be killed? What are we doing to fix those things?
I've never heard that argument, that because men don't take responsibility, that justifies abortion. Haven't heard that argument.
Basically, tell me if I'm wrong, Brad. If I'm wrong, if I'm misrepresenting your points, please point it out to me. But I get the impression that yes, when I said that men, you said you will be sympathetic to my position if the men shared responsibility, and I said, yeah, of course they should share responsibility. But you're also telling me that, well, the stats are showing that they don't share the responsibility. In my mind, I'm interpreting it as because the men don't share the responsibility, therefore abortion access should be available to women. And I don't think I can square that logic with me, because people can go back to I know this is hyperbolic, this is an extreme, and forgive me, Brad, for having to use this, but let me see if I can use it to pass my point across. People will go back to the time of slavery and say, you know what, we can't free the slaves now until we have every institution in place to cater for them, until they are 100% on equal footing, so we cannot free them. Freeing them right now when they don't have the skills or the writing, exactly, and they were wrong to have made that argument. So saying that because we don't have a good economy, because the father is not responsible, because there are so many other externalities, Therefore, it's okay at this point in time to have abortions. I don't know. I don't think that's an argument I want to be making.
Well, you know what? Spare yourself. Well, not you specifically, but if it were me, I would spare myself, the exasperation of having to dig through statistics by just saying a woman has a choice. She should have a choice. Stop. Don't go any farther than that. That's the only argument you need, in my opinion.
Yeah, she has a choice.
That in anything
She
other
has
than that specific argument within a legal time frame, you don't need other arguments, in my opinion.
she has a choice to not get pregnant. She has a choice to
You
not
know
have
what?
sex. She
That's a
has a
choice
choice
too.
to
That's a
she has a
choice
choice to
too.
use contraception.
Absolutely.
She doesn't have a choice to take another life once it's been formed, whether it's growing in her
And
body or
and
not.
and and hence our present difficulties. What is
Yep.
life? Second only to what is a woman?
Oh my goodness, this has been fun. Stanley and Brad and Steve. Always love talking with you guys. I'm happy. I'm always happy that I'm able to disagree with you guys, and we're still cool. There's this funny thing on social media where if someone disagrees with you on something, they automatically just disengage, and it's weird to me because I think people should be able to disagree and still remain in good terms. And I will give an example of, say, on Twitter, or even maybe on YouTube, when I put up certain videos and you just see some people leaving or unsubscribing or all that, and I ask myself, you came for a reason in the first place. So you liked one thing I said, and you clicked subscribe, and then you didn't like another thing I said, and you just went away. So did you come
Well,
for me to confirm what you were thinking, or you came to just, okay, what's this guy saying now? I agree with you in this, and this is why I agree with you. I don't agree with you,
well,
and
let
this
me.
is why I don't agree with you. So
I
I think it's weird.
I don't know though. I mean, I could think of a scenario where, if someone, agreed that, and I've never heard the argument, and I just don't know how anybody could ever make the argument. But there are certain things in the abortion debate that would be so egregious to someone, even someone who might, be able to accept the 12-week argument or something like that. I could imagine somebody getting up on YouTube and just, saying something that's just so egregious
No,
that,
no, I mean, I'm speaking on a general note. I'm not
oh,
even speaking
well,
on
you mean
a
among
verse.
reasonable human beings?
Yes, I'm not just speaking about a specific topic. I was speaking on and I see it even with, with conservatives and, liberals, or with right wing or left wing people, as they put it. Everyone just wants confirmation of their position. And once they're not getting it, they
Well, I think everybody,
scrap.
everybody is so afraid of being wrong, but I can tell you from personal experience, being wrong is liberating. Once you
Yep.
once you've done it once or twice, you're just, liberated. So, um, I think if you want to be right, you're going to be open to, being right. And sometimes that means, you make a false start, or you go down the wrong road and you have to reorient. I think someone who actually cares about, being or making good arguments or living a good life, for instance, you're going to be more open to, wanting to just be right.
Yeah.
Now, that could just be my personal quirk. It may sound weird to say it now that I'm saying it, but um, I don't mind being wrong if, and I know people who, like, I'm like, well, you know what? Why am I thinking this? I've had those moments.
Mm. You still there, Stanley?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this would be a good place to draw the conversation to a close. So is there
Okay.
anything else you wanted to add from the first topic we talked about?
We
Sensitivity
we
around
didn't get to
racial justice.
we didn't get to the volleyball argument, which to
Oh,
me
oh,
was
oh,
the most
that's
interesting.
oh, that's true. That's true. So let's touch it briefly.
Okay.
What do you know about that case?
I watched that clip that you sent me. Um, Not finding evidence doesn't mean that that young lady didn't hear what she heard.
Mm,
But I also know that, not finding evidence is not. I heard someone on that clip say, "Hey, it's been proven that she was wrong. She should apologize." I think
mm,
not finding evidence at the university that the offense allegedly happened.
mm,
This isn't a court of law. If you can't find evidence that does not prove that it didn't happen, it proves that, she doesn't have a case.
mm,
It may have happened, it may not have happened. Now, conversely, that young lady, you know what? This is America. It won't be the last time she hears it.
mm. So
And
you
my third issue is, fans. There are cities that are famous for fans that are just like outrageous and belligerent and all this stuff.
mm,
I went to an NFL game, Washington Redskins game, about, I don't know, when my son was still, a kid and too young to go.
mm,
And after that game, I swore I would never take my son to an NFL game until he was like 16. It was not and you know me, I'm a free swinging kind of, wild guy, but it was a circus. They served liquor at these games.
mm,
It was not a family atmosphere. Now, like a year later, I went to a hockey game, a professional hockey game. It was
mm,
great. It was an afternoon game. There were other kids there. It was, you would think something as violent as hockey would be, not that much of a family atmosphere. There were
mm.
families all over the place. It was great.
Wow.
So, getting back to the point, I think she might have heard what she heard. Fan behavior, that's something that we really need to start dealing with.
Mm,
It's the American, not quite as bad as, say, those English soccer games, where people die.
mm.
But yeah, the fan behavior's out of control.
Yeah, even in Africa, there are some cases where it gets so violent that people die, especially in North Africa with
Hmm.
soccer games,
Hmm.
where if a team is losing, and it turns into a civil war right then on the pitch, and it's so crazy that people would just do that for a game. It blows my mind.
Right. But I think, as an athlete, a college athlete or a professional athlete, I'm sure, if she goes like pro volleyball, she might hear worse. So, unfortunately, it was blown into a big deal, and maybe it was a big deal, but the way they approach it, like this young lady has been proven definitively wrong,
Mm,
because they couldn't find evidence. I think that's too strong of a position to take. You can't
mm,
prove it happened. It's her word against, whoever's word. That's about, where things stand. She shouldn't have to apologize for anything.
sure, sure. All right, Stanley. Thanks for this conversation.
Sure, I enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys, for coming. I really appreciate the conversation today. Steve, Brad, Harry, Templar, and Stanley. So
Oh, Templar was out there. How bad did he beat me up?
he didn't beat you up. He likes to reserve his love affair with you to Discord. So you guys will go continue your lover spat on Discord.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All
So
right.
it's bye for now.
All
Bye,
right. Take
guys.
it easy. Bye.